May the Lord bless you. Let's go in our Bibles in the book of Mark, chapter 9 from 19.
When they came to the other disciples, they saw a large crowd around them and the teachers of the law arguing with them. As soon as all people saw Jesus, they were overwhelmed with wonder and ran to greet him. "What are you arguing with them about?" he asked. And a man in the crowd answered, "Teacher, I brought you my son who is possessed by a spirit that has robbed him of speech. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him to the ground. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to drive out the spirit, but they couldn't." "You unbelieving generation," Jesus replied, "how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy to me." So they brought him. When the spirit saw Jesus, it immediately threw the boy into convulsion. He fell to the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. Jesus asked the boy's father, "How long has he been like this?" "From childhood," he answered. "It has often thrown him into the fire and water to kill him. But if you can do anything, take pity on us, help us." "If you can," Jesus said, "everything is possible for one who believes." Immediately the boy's father exclaimed, "I do believe, help me overcome my unbelief." When Jesus saw that the crowd was running to the scene, he rebuked the impure spirit. "You deaf and mute spirit," he said, "I command you, come out of him, never enter him again." The spirit shrieked, convulsed him violently, and came out. The boy looked so much like a corpse that many said, "He is dead." But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him to his feet, and he stood. After Jesus had gone indoors, his disciples asked him privately, "Why couldn't we drive it out?" He replied, "This kind can come out only by prayer and fasting." Now, I want to compare Mark and Matthew. And Jesus, verses 17 say, "And Jesus answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him here to me." And Jesus rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. Then came the disciples to Jesus apart and said, "Why couldn't we cast him out?" And Jesus said, "Because of your unbelief. For verily I say unto you, if you have faith as grain of mustard seed, you shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. Howbeit this kind goes not out but by prayer and fasting." I wanted to compare the two. This is a very interesting scenario where a man thought that these being Jesus followers or disciples could do what Jesus was able to do. And when Jesus came on the scene, he found an argument, and he wanted to find out what the argument was all about. And the man who had brought the boy told Jesus how his disciples could not drive out or heal the boy. Mark does not report, but Matthew reports that Jesus told them, "You faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him to me."
awo yesu matayo atunnya nti yesu n'abanduka n'agamba omulembe ogutakkiriza ndituusawo bagumira.
Then he rebuked the devil, he left, and the boy was healed.
N'abogolera dayimoni n'ava omulenzi n'awonyezebwa.
And Jesus told his disciples when they asked, why couldn't we drive? He said, because of your unbelief.
Era abayigiriza ba Yesu bamubuuza lwaki tetwayinza goba dayimoni n'abagamba olw'obutakkiriza.
And he told them, but if you have faith as a grain mustard seed, you shall say unto the mountain, be moved, and it shall be.
N'abagamba nti mulina okukkiriza ng'akasigo ka kayidaali nti muligamba olusozi okuva mu
pots.
Naye bonna Matayo ne Makko batubuulira
that Jesus told them,
ti Yesu Kristo yabagamba
this kind cannot go.
Ti ekyengeri ng'eno tekiyinza kuvaawo.
This kind cannot go.
Ti ekyengeri ng'eno tekiyinza kuvaawo.
Except by prayer and fasting.
Okujjako olw'okusaba n'okusiiba.
I believe in my heart.
Nzikiriza mutima gwange.
And the Lord has been speaking to me.
Ne Katonda abadde ayogera gye.
That there are many people who have mind that cannot go.
Ti bangi abalina ekyengeri ekitayinza kugenda.
And many people have been asking themselves a question, why is this taking long?
Era nga bangi badde beebuuza ekibuuzo lwaki kino kiruddewo nnyo.
Why do I need to do?
Beloved,
yesterday when we began on the journey of discipleship, I believe that most people that came, they came to realize that disciple is totally different from a follower. There are multitudes that can follow Jesus, and those multitudes, I don't know why, but today the church of course is interested in multitudes. We want to show the power, the anointing by the crowds, but Jesus turned to the crowd and told them, if you are going to follow me, you hate not your mother, you hate not your father, your brother, your sister, even your own life, you cannot be my disciple. Yesterday I explained what it means. And then he also said, if you're not willing to take up your cross. And the Jews understand what the cross was. It's an instrument of punishment. It was an instrument of death, where criminals used to be put, and no one could survive that instrument. And today, how many can turn and tell the crowds and say, are you willing to become a disciple? Most people think when you become a disciple, you lose. Of course you lose, because the Bible says, if you don't give up your life, you cannot get it. But if you give it up, you will get it. And most of these statements are very confusing. But yesterday we began a journey by our family members. When you give your life to the Lord and you become a committed believer, they want to discuss you. They want to sit you in a committee and begin to question you, why you don't do this, why you no longer do this. And the hate begins, and that is what Jesus meant. I have come with a sword